All right, welcome. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on some of those facts that we all just know. We're going to dig into the surprising and sometimes pretty sneaky origins of things we believe about everything from breakfast to diamonds. Let's get right into it. And yeah, I mean that pretty literally. Some of the most deeply held ideas in our culture, they didn't come from a sterile lab or some ancient history book. Nope, they were born in corporate boardrooms and government offices, all designed to make you buy something or believe something. Just think about it for a second. What are some things you believe are 100% true about health or history? I'm willing to bet at least one of them is on our list today. So let's start with the one you probably heard just this morning. Breakfast. We've all heard it a million times. It's the most important meal of the day. It kickstarts your metabolism, fuels your brain. But what if I told you that whole concept was cooked up for one reason and one reason only? To sell stuff. That's right. That little piece of nutritional wisdom that's been passed down for generations is, at its heart, just one of the most successful advertising slogans of all time. So let's take a look at how that happened. So how did we get here? Well, it all starts back in the late 1800s with a guy named John Harvey Kellogg. He invented cornflakes for his health spa, as part of a really bland, healthy diet. But bland doesn't exactly pay the bills. By the early 1900s, his company needed to move a lot of cereal. The real genius move, though, came in 1944. A radio campaign for grape nuts tied eating their cereal to wartime productivity. And suddenly, eating breakfast wasn't just good for you, it was your patriotic duty. And just like that, an ad campaign became scientific fact. So here's the bottom line. Nutritionists will tell you that a balanced diet is what really matters. Whether you eat your first meal at 7 a.m. or noon, well, that's really up to you and your body. That whole most important meal thing was about selling boxes of cereal, not about universal science. Now, this idea of inventing a story to sell something, it gets taken to a whole new level during World War II. We've all been told that eating carrots helps you see in the dark. Sounds like a harmless little health tip from your grandma, right? Well, the real story behind it is way more strategic. This wasn't just a simple misunderstanding. It was a deliberate lie, a piece of misinformation created during a massive global conflict for a very specific, very top-secret reason, to hide a brand-new, game-changing technology from the enemy. And honestly, the strategy was genius. The British Royal Air Force was suddenly unstoppable in the night skies, and they had to protect their secret weapon, which was this brand-new onboard radar system. So the government's Ministry of Information launched a propaganda campaign. They told the public, and more importantly, they told the enemy, that their pilots were so successful because they ate a ton of carrots. The story worked so well, it outlived the war, and we're still telling it to kids today.
And this is a perfect example of how the best lies have a little bit of truth in them. I mean, yes, the vitamin A in carrots is absolutely good for your eyes. It helps prevent certain vision problems. But it's not going to turn your eyeballs into a pair of military-grade night vision goggles. That part is pure propaganda.
Okay. So this pattern of mixing up a story with reality continues from the battlefield right into our own homes. Let's talk about a belief held by pretty much every parent on Earth. The dreaded sugar rush. You give a kid a piece of cake and they'll be bouncing off the walls, right? I mean, we've all seen it. At birthday parties, after trick-or-treating, the evidence feels so obvious. But is sugar really the bad guy here? Or is there something else going on entirely? Now, this one might be a little tough to swallow, but the science is crystal clear on this. Dozens of controlled, double-blind studies, the gold standard of research, have all reached the exact same conclusion. Sugar does not cause hyperactivity in kids. So, if it's not the sugar, what in the world is it? Well, it's a perfect storm of psychology and just context. First, you've got parental expectation. If you believe your kid is going to get hyper after eating cake, you're way more likely to notice and point out that behavior. But even more importantly, think about when kids get a lot of sugar. It's at parties, on holidays, with their friends. They're not hyper because of the frosting. They're hyper because they're at a party. The rush is situational, not chemical. Okay, so we've seen myths born from marketing, from propaganda, and from just mixing up two different things. For our last one, we're looking at a story that combines all of these into a multi-billion-dollar industry, built on one single powerful idea, that a diamond is forever.
Seriously, forget cereal and carrots. The story we've been sold about diamonds, that they are the ultimate symbol of love and rarity and value, is probably the most successful and profitable marketing campaign of the entire 20th century.
Let's just break down the story they built, piece by piece. First, the science. That romantic idea that diamonds are made from compressed coal, totally false. They're formed from carbon deep inside the Earth's mantle. Second, the economics. Diamonds aren't actually that rare. For over 100 years, their supply has been artificially choked off to keep prices sky high. And finally, the history. The diamond engagement ring isn't some ancient tradition passed down through the ages. It was an idea literally invented by an ad agency in the 1930s to help the De Beers companies sell more diamonds. So the real takeaway here is this. A diamond's value isn't based on geology or actual rarity. It's based on the power of a really, really good story. A story that marketers have been carefully crafting for almost a century. A story about forever and status and love that we've all been taught to buy. Literally. So, from our breakfast tables to wartime secrets to jewelry stores, we are surrounded by facts that are really just incredibly effective fictions.
So what's the big lesson we can take away from all this?
Well, it really just comes down to this. Always ask yourself, who is telling me this and what do they have to gain? A lot of the time, if you follow the money, you'll find the real story. It's about learning to tell the difference between real science and a really good sales pitch, and remembering that sometimes even governments use stories to get what they want. The world is absolutely full of these kinds of stories. The real question is, now that you know what to look for, which one are you going to start questioning first? Thanks for joining me on this one. Keep thinking critically.